What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online conversation in the world for fathers and dads that is co-sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And being part of that collaboration and part of that team last year, reached out to over 100,000 fathers around the world, directly or indirectly last year. And as always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Let us welcome media star Ryan Knight. Good morning, Ryan Knight, in the suit and tie, so you know there's today. There's big meetings today.
It's a mystery. Is it a suit or just a shirt?
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Of course, so happy to be here. Hoping we can add a positive vibe to your morning as we go into the weekend and the March break for some of the school boards. My name is Ryan Knight. For those that don't know me, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network and currently one of the co-executive directors. So shout out to my colleague, Nicola Harris. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage they're in today and then help them create a blueprint to grow their companies exponentially. I'm also an entrepreneur. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. So we go to your house or to your office, clean your car on the spot without using water, and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. We are almost done our hiring. So this month we're doing our final hiring. We're trying to get at least 5 students for our program. And then from there, we're going to add on more. So those initial 5, that would be the area managers. If you know somebody that is looking for a job, had a hard time getting a job last summer, right? Hey, if you're willing, we are.
Well, you know, I could get direction to you. I think that would be, what's that show that we have the executives come on? Oh, I can't remember the name of that show. Oh, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, don't worries. So we're excited about the new season coming up. Got some interesting partnerships that I'll share once the ink is dried. So yeah, looking forward to this new season.
Good
and
stuff.
As restrictions slowly start to
melt
away.
Well, the Ontario government, I heard, announced they're pulling off restrictions in schools, but there are certain school. I know that 1 or 2 school boards are saying, no, we're going to keep them on for a few more weeks. I didn't hear the result, but last night the Toronto District School Board had a meeting about whether they were going to continue the mask restrictions or not. So very, very interesting. All the stuff that's going on. Anything? What's been going on since Monday?
Since Monday.
What's been going on in the last 24 hours?
We rebooted our youth entrepreneurship drop-in, so we were able to do that session last night. Beyond that, we've been actually finalizing an agreement with the African Canadian Caribbean Association in Hamilton. So ACBN is going to have a satellite office there. So nice. Entrepreneurs in Hamilton will be able to meet with somebody. We'll have office hours. And of course, we can extend all our programming there. So really, we've already extended to London. We've extended to Durham. We're in Durham. So we, looking forward to just in Southern Ontario is really our sweet spot. So we're trying to create those. So if you are an organization, even if it's a nonprofit not focused on entrepreneurship, but you want to add that entrepreneurship support to it, we would love to talk to you and see how we can add what we do for entrepreneurs to your already programming.
Excellent. Good stuff. Well, before we went live, we were talking about gas prices.
Yeah, and I was saying, I feel like we've been conditioned to feel like 175 is good. It's like we're wired, man. They blast it up and then come back to where they want to be, and then we're happy that it dropped 15 cents, even though 175 is still ridiculous. So,
hey, like we were saying before I went live, how much was the gas that they bought it for, and how much are we paying it for? Like there was like a double dip, because before the prices went up, I'm sure they had piles of reserves in their big tanks, right, or whatever. But then the price, so let's do an additional. So let's double dip and let's really go at it. And just really, really, really disturbing. And sharing with Ryan and our friend who's going to be with us in a moment. I have a next door neighbor who's been managing a grocery store down on the Danforth in Toronto for about 20 plus years. And we were chatting yesterday, and he said, there used to be a time where, prices would go up on food products like 5 or 10 cents. Now it's like 50 cents in one shot. So the 5 or 10 cent thing is no more. It's like, let's go big or go home, It's really, really crazy. So we got some people saying, good morning, Ange G. Thank you so much for dropping by. Ms. Knight Esquire is in the house. Actually, Sheraton Knight making stuff happen internationally. Let's big her up for a second.
Yeah, so those that don't know, Sheraton, she runs her company Ebony Occasions. So they provide Afrocentric greeting cards. And some orders came in from the US. So she's gone international, shipping over the border. So want to big up for that, and we'll keep it going.
Hey, we'll take those US dollars.
That's like double money.
We will take those US dollars. So as always, let's thank everybody who is watching us live on the replay. And good news, our YouTube feed has been fixed. Not YouTube, LinkedIn. Sorry, YouTube, there's still a challenge, but the LinkedIn one has been fixed, and that was not our fault, folks. I know a lot of people were beginning to enjoy our live conversations on LinkedIn, and that was not an error of ours. It was on the back end between StreamYard and LinkedIn, but they sent an email out, or StreamYard sent an email out 2 days ago saying, yes, you can broadcast on LinkedIn. There'll be no challenges now. So there you go. And Sheraton says,
confirmed.
Thank you so much. Well, we like highlighting success. So when you have your success stories, folks, please put them in the chat. We'd like to highlight and amplify them. So this is really good. Well, you know what? We've chatted long enough. We've got a heavy hitter with us this morning who told me, Dr. Vibe, I usually don't do anything before 10 o'clock.
All right. Hey.
So you know how high up she is when she says, I don't move online or to comment before 10 o'clock, and she's smiling in the background. I can see her in the green room smiling. But folks, you got to treat this star with a lot of love, because she don't usually do this 10 a.m. thing. She's shaking her head now. I know I'm going to get verbal licks, but that's all right. I'm speaking truth. I'm speaking facts here. Today we're very blessed, highly favored to have Nicole Waldron, and she works tirelessly for the advancement, progress, and prosperity of her community. She's a professional event planner, international speaker, author, community advocate, and podcaster. Her Victory Speaks podcast, which provides listeners with tools to live a victory mindset and be mentally fit. She also has the Victory Speaks online show, where she curates inspiring conversations with everyday experts and thought leaders that will inspire, equip, and empower the listener to operate with a victory mindset and the life of victory. So I'm going to read her whole bio. She told me to see it. I'm going to read the whole thing because she needs to be amplified.
You're going to get us buffs before we even start, man.
There you go. She works for the advancement and prosperity of her community, raising awareness on co-op housing, mental health, and other issues affecting members of our society. She sits on the board of the Cooperators. Yeah, the Cooperators, the insurance company, Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada, CHF Canada, and the Ontario Caregivers Organization, which will come into play during our conversation today. She serves on committees with the Canadian Mental Health Hospital, CAMH, Stella's Place, and the Family Caregivers Advisory Network. She was named one of the 100 Black accomplished Canadian women and one of the 150 women in Canada by How She Hustles, Her Story in Black series. She's a recipient of the 2020 Brian Burke Community Builder Award from CHFT, the Outstanding Community Service Award from Dance Carib. She was also presented with the Social Housing Service Corporation Kathleen Blinkhorn Award for Excellence in Volunteerism. So you see why she doesn't do anything before 10 o'clock, because she needs to get rest from all the stuff she did the day before. So let's make it happen. Here she is, smiling away. Victory Speaks, Nicole Waldron. What's going on?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
You see, that she's being very restrictive on me, because if this was not live, oh gosh. gosh, I've been getting it.
You're
How
trying
you
to
doing
talk
this?
Trini. Stop it now. You're trying to talk Trini this morning with your Trini, with your
Oh, no, I'm just
entrepreneurial
gonna go. Oh
accent.
gosh, that's it. Oh gosh, that's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
No more.
Let's
I don't.
let's clarify something here.
Mm,
Let's clarify something here.
mm,
The before 10 is no business before 10.
Okay.
So I have curated my self-care time
mm.
before that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because once the day gets started, that's a whole different thing. So unless I have to, I'll do a meeting at 8 o'clock exception, 9 o'clock exception, things like that exception. But the norm is my me time, whatever I need to do to fill my tank, it happens before 10.
Is there a routine that you follow in the mornings for your me
Yes.
time?
My part of my first thing is, of course, I wake up and that breath, that first thank you breath, I give thanks to God, and really just trying more and more to, I don't always get it right, but just trying more and more to really recognize that I'm breathing, because we're breathing and we're not always conscious that we're breathing. So
Right.
taking stock of that breath, and once I do that, and I do my devotions, and just just sit in that place of gratefulness, and connect with my inner circle of accountability sisters. We say good morning to each other, but it's most of the times it's text, and we send each other encouraging messages, and that's how I start my day. So my day started with inspiration, and because I'll give you a quick story.
Mm,
I had the opportunity in the 2000s, when Dr. Miles Monroe was alive, to go to the Bahamas. And the one of the mottos for my company is motivate, enlighten, and empower. And he
mm.
said to me, change motivate to inspire. Now, he didn't go with the acronym well, but
Right.
when he said it, he said, when you motivate someone, you have to do that all the time. But when you inspire someone,
Okay.
it comes into their heart. And so that continual inspiration of yourself and of others will continue to take root and create a new belief system. But when you have to motivate something or someone, it's a constant process. So that's my Dr. M
Love it.
inspiration story for the morning.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Where would you be if you didn't do that in the morning?
Uh, I would be in a place of deep depression.
Mm.
And how long have you been? I know you sometimes you're not perfect, so there may be the
Yeah.
odd day, but how long have you been doing that morning routine?
Mm.
You know what? It's evolved over the years. But prayer, God is for me, my belief system is that, if I look outside, and I'm facing the window, so I actually position my computer that I can face the window, and I see outside. And for those who don't live in Toronto, I live by what's called the Bluffs. And so I can see the water. So I pretend I live in Trinidad. That was
Yes.
so I see the water, and so nature has always been my foundational piece. So but I am started taking walks now, and which I wasn't doing before, and just really finding some way to start my morning, with a little more grace for myself, and not just going straight to the phone and looking at messages. I actually this year put on my iPhone the sleep focus.
Nice.
But
Oh,
however, I had to make sure I put my family as they can bypass the sleep focus. Otherwise, their texts or their calls wouldn't come through.
right.
Yeah. So I'm doing that now. So you can't get me in the morning.
I like it.
And it's good for me, because that means I don't look at the phone if I hear the ping, right?
Right.
I have to recondition my mind. So that's part of my reconditioning, because I knew I can't do it on my own.
And
Someone says hello here. Marlon Stevens
Hey,
says,
Marlon.
Marlon, morning, Nicole.
Long time.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I was just curious. You said you help others recondition their mind as well. So for those like me that are learning about you through this conversation, can you tell us a bit about how you got started with Victory Speaks and what it is that you do for others?
Can I leave now?
Let's stop it. It's interesting. So Nicole is a very common name,
Mm.
but Nicole means victory of the people.
Ah.
So I have a common name with a very powerful meaning. So I have always learned the meaning of my name. And through when I came here in 1988, I wanted to be a child psychologist because I was always into this, even when living in Trinidad. And I didn't understand the country. I didn't understand the support I could have gotten. So I never did it. I stuck with what I knew. I worked for an insurance company, but I also went into event planning. But I would always find myself in spaces with encouragement. So I've always been an encourager. It's always been a natural thing for me. And I've wanted to have, I've had a speaking career before. I used to do even networking breakfasts. I used to do stuff with, that's how I met Lovemore. Lovemore met me through one of my networking breakfasts I used to do. I used to host it at, I think I used to use Tropicana Space and stuff. But I was always giving. And I need to stop saying but, however, because but cancels everything out. Yes.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Can you just amplify love more? Because people go, well,
is that more. Cher?
Yes. Cher,
okay,
Cher
yes,
McLaughlin.
Yes.
Cher McLaughlin, aka Love More. She is the Love More coach, teaching you how to love yourself more and how to love others more. She is my sister friend. She is one of my accountability sisters that just pours into me and gives me life, and we pour into each other. And so we've known each other over 20 something years. So she knows me. So when I even miss and forget my voice, she reminds me. So even as I inspire others, it's important to have those iron sharpeners around you. I call them iron sharpeners. Cher calls them your pelotons. And for those of you into sports, go look up what a peloton is. You know, the peloton that's next to the cyclist when you're doing a marathon. Look up the peloton, and the cyclist in a marathon can't really do it unless he has the pelotons around him. And so it's just been a journey of that. And I put down the dream doing other things. But it's interesting. Life is funny. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the greatest speakers in the world. I worked with Dr. Phil. I worked with Robin Sharma. And I've worked with some of them. I've traveled with Dr. Phil. And people would know it because I don't have pictures. I don't take pictures with my clients. I really respect my client space. So it's unless I really talk about it on a platform like this, or you really get into the long bio, you won't see those things, right? And so I've been fortunate to be around that stuff, which speaks to where I am now. And when I had the opportunity in the crisis called the pandemic, one morning I just woke up and I was like, I just started speaking into my phone and started creating small snippets of encouraging messages and created a podcast. And that's the Victory Speaks podcast that you can get anywhere right now. And that really focuses on the mindset. So 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you can go to Victory Speaks on the platform and you can find it. And so that has evolved, and then that evolved into the show. And what you don't know, Dr. Vibe, now, what I've done is that God gave me 5 shows. And I was like, how in the world do you want me, one person in this thing, to do 5 shows? But through the last 2 years, I've had different themes through the interviews. So now on the Mondays, I tend to interview people who are living lives like yourself, doing things, impacting lives, right? And then I've made sure that we have to give people their flowers in the now. I don't like to give people their flowers when they're dead. What's the use of flowers when you're dead? So interviewing people that are trailblazers. So like the Joan Pierres of the world. If you don't know who Joan Pierre is, go look her up. Not Jean Pierre, Joan Pierre. And Rami, and Jean Augustine, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, and Rosemary Saddle. People who have made an impact, but they're here with us. And we need to share with the world the magnitude of who they are. And so now the show I'm learning from my friend here, Dr. Vibe. I'm putting it on the audio. Yes, I'm learning from you. And I'm dropping that into the audio podcast. So now I've created an audio podcast just specifically on the show that's not to be mixed up with the mindset piece, because it's 2 different things.
Yes.
And I interview people speaking about mental health, which I know we're going to get into, which is called Minding Our Mind. So that podcast is going to drop soon. And you're going to get a 4th one dropping called The Caregiver's Voice. And that's for caregivers with loved ones with a mental illness. So
it's busy, man.
I'm going to need some sponsors. I'm going to need some sponsors, people, for the nice podcast.
I don't know how to get sponsors, so don't come to me.
That's untrue. But I'm not going
Exactly.
to give you your receipt. I'm not going to put you on blast here, because if Mario Armstrong was on here right now, he would look at you and frown, and that would be a disservice to our mentor. So behave yourself.
No, I'm just
Okay.
talking. No, well, and also you do have something in common with the Armstrong family.
His wife. Her name is Nicole. I'm telling you, victory people all around.
Okay.
The next time you see a Nicole, just say, "Victory, how you doing?" That's how I also met one of my best friends, Ryan, Coco, which is Nicole Coco Lorraine. We met in church, and I said, "Do you know what your name means?" And I told her, and we've been friends ever since.
Yes. Was it victory for the people or
victory of the people?
Of the people. Okay, victory of the people.
All right.
Yeah, my dad. That's a whole different story how I got named, but yeah, it happened.
But
I was going to be Nicola, but I'm Nicole.
But I think it's very important, and I ask people periodically, "Do you know what your name means?"
Yes.
And so many people have no idea, and I say you need to check that
because your name speaks to your identity.
Yes.
People introduce themselves by what they do. Stop it.
Who you?
I am Nicole Waldron, and I have the gift of encouragement. I love to see people live, and I love to see people, walk in the victory of who they are and walk in their purpose. I am not a podcaster. I am not a mom. I am a human being with a personality that is here with a purpose, and that purpose will manifest through the things that I do, but it's not who I am. Tune into the podcast, the show next week, Wednesday, with Andrea Boeo, when she breaks down how to introduce yourself. Let me tell you.
Okay. Love this.
It's gonna be good.
Yes.
It's gonna be good.
So Nicole is my mentor. So it says, you see why with all these shows flourishing up all around the place, this is a bang, bang, bang.
So don't let me give them our history, because we did some conferences together. But go ahead, Ryan.
And we're actually doing another event together next week.
Yes. Oh,
okay. So remember,
100
yeah. So follow our timelines, because we are going to be co-hosting the 100th
birthday.
100th birthday of Ms. Lily Johnson, the founder of the Sickle Cell Association of Ontario. We're doing that next Wednesday.
I'm ready in tears. Already in tears.
And I was so curious how you're developing these 4 podcasts, and you use your voice so powerfully and consistently. What guidance would you give to somebody that has a lot to say but are afraid
taking notes,
like to really step into that podcast arena or just recording themselves? What kind of guidance would you give to somebody that should be using their voice but typically has a reason why they aren't?
So I'm going to answer the question this way. You are a gift. You and I are gifts. When we came into the earth as a gift. And that gift has value. And each of us has a voice. And each person's voice has a frequency. And I can't be afraid to be on here. And nor should you be afraid to be on my show. Because
I'm afraid.
No, you're not. Fear is not in your vocabulary. Stop it.
Remind them. Yes.
Stop telling untruths. So because of that, with each person's frequency, we may overlap in audiences, but you will still have your unique audience because of your unique voice. I do not need to be afraid of sharing my voice. But when you start understanding that you're a gift and a value, and that what you have is needed in the world. I have 5 fingers, 5 different fingerprints on one hand. Each finger has a different job, even though they're on the same hand with this beautiful butterfly. But each finger has a different job. And when one gets injured, the other ones have to step up. And so somebody in the world needs your voice. And there's a thing called false humility. Sometimes you're walking in humility, but I don't want to do. And I've had to learn how to accept even compliments, because I recognized when I wasn't accepting a compliment, I was devaluing the gift I was, and I was dishonoring God that created me. And so there's a way to receive who you are without being cocky, without being full of yourself. There's a way to share who you are and your gift and your voice. What is the message? We like to say, what's the pain point? And you know what? Find the people, like it was in the pandemic, I literally didn't intend to do this. I took up my iPhone and I opened the voice message and I just started to record. And because, so here's what happened, Ryan and Dr. Vibe. That activation created a door that opened, and I turned on my computer, and there was an old friend of mine, Tristan Barracks, who is the digital storyteller. He is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I love my brother. He's doing phenomenal work out there. And Shirley Joseph, who has now become a sister friend, who I didn't know in the beginning. And they were talking about how to do your podcast. And there I was, being taught online in a pandemic how to do my podcast. On a name that I was trying to register for my website years ago, couldn't get it. And then 2:00 that morning, I was up because I'm a night worker, and there it was, Victory Speaks, $9.99, 2:00 in the morning. Website. I was like, hey, come on.
Oh man!
But you have to. You know what? It's like if you don't, you want to get somewhere, but if you don't start the car, I don't drive. So I know the people who are looking at me, what's she talking about driving? She doesn't drive. I just drive people crazy a little bit. But if you don't start walking, if you don't start moving, you can't change directions. It's okay if you go down the wrong road, because you know what? When you get lost, this requires humility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Men in particular, let me talk to you. Ask for help when you get lost, because you have the opportunity to turn around faster. The longer you wait to ask for help, it's the longer you will go down the wrong road. But it's okay, because there's grace. And I've had grace. I've had how many years of grace to be able to come back to this and, be able to say, okay, thank you. I see my friend Dwayne Wellington here.
Yeah.
So, Dwayne, I'll tell you, put up Dwayne's comment and I'll tell you why.
All right. Well, that's a good segue. I'm going to just put up there's a string of comments coming on right now.
I'm directing your show.
Yeah, I know.
It's the director at me. I'm sorry.
No problem. That's why you're an event planner, right? I will just add quickly to what Nicole is at. I say, first of all, your gift will take you, or your character will fail you.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all,
make room for you.
Yep. And then second of all, everybody has value. And then third of all, and this is just me, if you have a gift and you're not a positive gift and you're not sharing it with the world, it's robbery.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
But here's the thing. When you don't know the gift I'm going to drop this podcast soon. When you don't know the value of a gift, if you just saw this box here, we're going live now. You see this box, it just looks like a box, right? But if you were to open this box is full of notes. Yeah. I didn't plan to do this morning. These notes are my victory notes. Mm-hmm. And so every week I write down some victory moments. So for those days when I may forget, or, I just need a reminder, I can pull out a note at any time. People do it in JAWS. People write gratitude journals. I don't do the journal. I fail at the journaling. So I recognize if I'm sitting at my desk, I can just write a note, tear a piece of paper, throw it in there, and it's accomplished. Sometimes we try to make it too much. So that's right. Okay. Back to the comments. Back to your show, Dr. Vibe. The victory.
Yeah. Thank you. So and she says, I'm Angela the Angel. In regards to the name.
Angelic love. Walking in angelic love.
The Macmillan Group, good morning, everyone. Powerful. Quote, we may overlap in audiences, but we all have a different voice. Say it louder.
It's a different frequency. It's not even just the voice, because we have voices, but the frequency is key.
Dwayne, who I haven't seen in a minute, actually. The last time I saw him was at
Pastor Dwayne Wellington now, beloved. Pastor Dwayne Wellington now.
Who's broadcasting on IG. Gotcha. The concept of sharing for increase is a universal tree. By the way, Nicole speaks things into being that manifest in the future.
So Michelle, pause on that. Pause on that. You know why he's saying that? Because when he first came to work at Planet Africa, when I was at Planet Africa and we were doing the magazine and the television show and stuff, he came to us because he noticed an error in the magazine. And we received it. And he started becoming the editor. He ended up becoming one of the editors. Wow, and he was working very closely with me. And then on our conversation, I said, he would always drop these encouraging words and messages. I just started calling him Pastor Dwayne Wellington. And I won't get into all the story, but Today, he is Pastor Dwayne Wellington Rattree.
There you go.
Wow.
Michelle on LinkedIn saying good morning.
Good morning.
Angie says, be humble and realize we are the same but different. We all need the same thing, perhaps not at the same time. Earl Anderson, love this.
Mhm.
Sheridan saying, good morning, Nicole. Do you find the conversations are better when they are organic, or do you try to somewhat follow a format?
So that's a great question, and it's actually both. So I really try and look at my person's story, the person I'm going to have the conversation with, find out a little bit of who they are. I craft the question so I kind of have an order. However, I make sure to keep it organic in a lot of places. So I can't always promise what you're going to get. I can give you a guide, but I try to allow my conversations to breathe. Now, technically, they say, you keep your show to an hour, I still am working on that part. That's the part that full-time Virginia Waldron, I'm going to call my whole self out here. She is working hard to curtail it, but sometimes you hit the sweet spot. But my producer friends, and I'm going to have to go back into my producer brain, because when I'm producing a show, right, but it's my show and it's on the internet. And here's the thing.
Yes.
People watch a movie for 2 hours. And we like to say people won't listen to a conversation for 2 hours. But if it's good, they will.
Absolutely.
And they can press pause and come back. I'm just saying.
All right, Angie, you don't know that you don't know, but you think you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle says you can have a gift. If you don't do anything with it, it's just a box or an item.
Yes. But many people don't know they are a gift, though. And many people don't know their other value. And I'm just going to say my own truth here. People have told me I'm a gift. I hear it. But do I believe I'm a gift? Okay, yeah. But what kind of gift am I? What kind of value do I place on the gift that I am? And I'll give you the hint that's going to drop in the podcast later today. I had to look at, how am I treating myself? That's going to tell me if I'm valuing me. We teach people how to treat us, right? We all know that's it. They teach others how to treat you. The question is, have you stopped to look at how other people are treating you? And when you do, you will see the value of how they really value. People know your value, but they will know when you don't value yourself, and they will abuse you, abnormal use of you, because you don't understand the value of the gift that you are.
So here's the interesting part. We had a conversation topic.
We have to catch that. We have to catch that. Oh, sorry.
So we better get to it, because if not, we're going to see when we can get you back on to talk about it. So let's get right to it. In that you wanted to chat about, one of the things you wanted to chat about today was Black caregivers and mental health. I'm going to duck out for a moment and be right back. But tell us how you and why you wanted to share about this today, and I'll see you in a moment.
Okay, so he's ducked out. Why do I want to share about mental health? So, as I said earlier, I've always wanted to be into to psychology, and mental health has always fascinated me. The brain has always fascinated me.
Yes, same.
And my own mental health, years ago, I really dealt with depression. Didn't understand I was going through depression until I saw a woman one day, Naomi Tita, Sam Tita's wife, Dr. Vibe, and she talked about depression. It was a bing moment for me. And that was the first part of really dealing with mental health. And that connects to the other part of your question, Ryan, about the victory mindset. The second part was 2015, my son was in a bike accident, and he was doored and he flipped over, and he was, living on his own, doing his own thing. And unfortunately, they didn't really deal with his diagnosis properly. I won't call the hospital name right now because I still feel like I want to sue them. And he left the hospital with a concussion, torn rotator cuff, didn't know. They released him in hours. Black young man, 20 years old, dreadlocks, torn. He had so many injuries, it was ridiculous. And he had re-traumatized an injury on his face. He had broken his face in grade 9. Mm-hmm. And so with the accident, it caused his injury to be traumatized, and it's trigeminal nerve pain. And that, with everything else, sent him into psychosis. And that propelled me into the mental health system. And that propelled me into becoming a caregiver and then a Black mom on top of that. It's bad enough being in the mental health system. But then you add Black on top of that. Hallelujah. What a mess.
Wow. So more comments coming through, and we were talking about conversations. I've listened to good conversation for 4 hours. Yes, you pause reluctantly and then come back. She also says people treat you the way you allow them to. Peter saying this is good. Her comments are about mental health. How people treat you is a huge factor. Guess who commented?
Morning, love more.
And just saying, Nicole, I wonder if you were born in November. You sound similar to the way I think.
January, baby. January the 7th. On the 7th day, God rested and he made Nicole. Hallelujah. Glory. Just
All right. Love more. Dr. Vibe, Ryan, Voice of Victory. And Love More says, you need to share your story more. Like, and when you brought that up, I do know that story. Yes. So, yeah. But getting into why specifically, though, today you wanted to talk about Black caregivers? And actually, I have a story of myself that I can relate to in regards to this. But why did you want to talk about Black caregivers and mental health?
So let's get real. An artist, and I apologize to anybody who feels offended, but this is not about offense. This is about honesty and truth. So, mental illness is already an invisible illness. It's, people, we deal with a stigma. We deal with a stigma that comes from long time. We used to call people mad, crazy. Please remove that out of your vocabulary when you refer to anyone who is unwell or not behaving right. It is offensive, and it hinders people from getting help. So if you think you're dealing with your mental health and wellness and you don't want to deal with it and of the stigma, imagine the caregivers. And the caregivers become the invisible ones. We have a system here in Canada that is broken. No, it's not broken. It's doing exactly what it was set up to do. We have several systems we're dealing with. We're dealing with the mental health system. So it doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. The system is flawed. And the system is flawed because it has this thing in the Privacy Act. And so what many people do not realize is that you're seeing a lot of people on the street right now acting out and look at them weird. And some people are homeless, and you're seeing, people who have dealing with a drug addiction. Why? Because we have a system that tells us that if they are not an imminent danger to themselves at certain points in time in it, that they can get released from hospital. So you can take a loved one in psychosis with paranoia. And if they at that time are manifesting where they say, I don't want to kill myself or I don't want to kill anyone else, do you know they can be released? Even though that you, the caregiver, is standing in that hospital and saying, this is what I'm seeing at home. We are the first responders and we get ignored. And then the Privacy Act says, even though that they are unwell, whether they're in a state of intoxication, psychosis, etc., psychosis is huge, that they have the right to tell the medical staff when they are unwell mentally that you do not have permission to talk to my loved one, the person who they live with, the person that they may be seeing. And imagine if you're paranoid and you think that the person, you can think me, your mom. So Ryan, if I was your mom right now and you thought that I was the enemy, that I was coming after you, that's not our normal relationship. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to tell the doctors at the hospital that this is not what's happening. He doesn't have a beef with, you don't have a beef with Dr. Vibe. In fact, you guys are best buddies. But in your state of paranoia, Dr. Vibe has become your enemy. But we have a window this small to tell them at the beginning of admission, for example, at hospital, that this is what is happening. And once they go behind those doors, there's a point in time they tell us, unless your loved one gives you permission, you have no choice. Your loved one can be released and you don't even have knowledge unless they tell you of the medication they're on, the prognosis, how to be safe, a safety plan. And so you see out there, people are unwell, and then it criminalizes them because then they end up maybe threatening someone or doing something to someone. We have seen the atrocities, and then we blame the person with the illness. By the way, people, mental illness is a brain disease, okay? It's not a mind disease. It's a brain disease that affects the mind and your thoughts. And I digress. Go ahead, Ryan.
You mentioned that they don't tell the caregiver about the safety plan.
No.
That's only given to the patient?
Yes. Who's unwell?
Right. That, man.
Right. You guys ready to have this conversation? It's not gonna happen all today, but I'm just telling you, it's the real deal.
This is wild.
It's the wrong day to have this. It's the wrong day to have the tie-in shirt on today, Ryan. I'm telling you.
But
part two.
It blows you away, doesn't it?
because you mentioned when you said you add Black to the mix, it's such a mess. And I know, like, even for myself, my wife is really the only person that will ask me, hey, do you feel depressed?
Yeah.
And it forces me to like actually think about it. And at sometimes it's yes, but
Right.
at other times you don't even want to talk about it. So
Right.
now when a person is getting care and is already
In
not,
crisis.
yeah, not anxious or have anxiety, but they're embarrassed. I would say I'd be embarrassed if I got brought in and then I don't even want to talk about it. So you're never going to get that information from me. So if you can't get it from the doctor, everybody is just in limbo.
Yeah.
And like you said, when it gets to that breaking point, then we're attacking the person that was that broke.
Right. And so if you were to just because I know of time, I'm going to say two things.
Mhm.
And it's not about pumping my show. If you and I'm going this is why I'm going to put the interviews that I do with caregivers on a separate podcast, audio that people can hear the stories of caregivers and what they go through because it's complex. And how many people have lost their children even though they've wanted help.
Mhm.
When I think of the story of Marky, a young white male being denied the help he needs. And when I hear his story, I can imagine if he was Black and he died.
Mhm.
And his mother has the courage now to share the story, but she doesn't share it often because it's so traumatic. Fifth Estate just did a story on last week about in Vancouver, you know, what's happening. And sometimes they tell you they want help, but they can't get help. Because in Canada, we're not able to force our underage children into care. Under 18, we can't take them into care. In the US, we can. And I'll give you a quick story of one mother who said it on the Fifth Estate. She said, the social worker told her, if you take him against his will into the US, I will call the police.
Wow.
All right. So let's get to Black caregivers. It's Black Mental Health Care Week in Toronto.
Mm.
And Nicole Waldron is a little peeved because Black, mental health is health. And I'm peeved and I'm happy. So I'm double-minded, which is not a good thing. Because a double-minded man is unstable, but I'm not unstable. I'm just annoyed. And so it is important that we speak about the health and wellness and the mental health and wellness of our community. We have been traumatized for hundreds of years, and our mental health comes from way back.
Mm.
And it has been even double down because of slavery. And we are reaping the unfortunate things that has brought on. So it's a lot to unpack, and there's many conversations happening around it. Taibu is doing it, Kafkan is doing it, so that's really good. However, what people are missing is the missing link of when someone has a mental illness, there's a caregiver. Just like when you have cancer and a heart attack, there's a caregiver. We are the invisible people. When if a loved one goes into hospital, nobody says, can I make you a casserole? Nobody says, can I take you to the hospital? Nobody brings you flowers. Nobody takes you for a walk because they disappear. They don't know what to say. It's an uncomfortable conversation because of the stigma and the privacy and all those kind of things. In the Caribbean, we don't talk about those things.
Yes.
She just get over it, think about it. And
Mm.
and so there's a lot of education that has to happen. But for caregivers, we get left into these silos. And this week of all weeks, I have not seen one person. I didn't have the capacity to do it this year, but I did not see one organization that has the money to do it, curate a conversation for Black caregivers. And yet again, by my own community, we have been left out of the conversation. And Nicole is not happy. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's so many Black caregivers that I hear from that the lack of support, the lack of peer support, who to go to, what to do, legal support. There's so much that is left, and we are left in these silos. Even just say, you know what? I say to people, you can send a text, how are you doing today? Or, just drop some food off. I can tell you when my son was in crisis, I forgot how to cook. I burnt water.
Mm.
Drop off a meal. Because you just think about yourself in regular stress. I like COVID for the fact that it's allowed people. Well, I don't like COVID. Let me rephrase. The pandemic that has evolved from COVID has allowed people to understand some of the basics of mental health, like depression and anxiety. So it's a very less people are saying, well, you can think it away, because now they feel stressed. Now they feel anxious. Some people have lost their job. Some people are inside and they're stuck inside. Well, think about those people who are stuck inside for a long time.
Right.
And then think about the family that's behind them. And if you don't know, I say to employers, and I know we're on LinkedIn, if you're an employer, find out in your company who has a mental illness. Find out in your company who has a loved one with a mental illness. There are many people who have young people, especially now, especially as we've gone through COVID. Let's be mindful of the young people who are having suicidal ideation. And when you have to be on watch, you cannot be at work.
Right.
Where's the grace? And don't tell people they can't work from home now, because we can. Isn't that wonderful? That's the opportunity in the crisis. We can work from home. Be sensitive. Give people grace. And so, as we do Black Mental Health Care Week, learn the truth. Stop listening to the lies. Get the information. And if you don't know it, bring the people in who can speak to it. You talk about, I sit on the Ontario Caregivers Organization board. That's not just for mental health. It's caregivers overall. Go look up the, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name, the Spotlight Report for caregivers. And when you see 58% of caregivers are feeling stressed in Canada, in Ontario, 3.3 million caregivers we know of last come, because not everybody's writing it down. They're young caregivers at 16-year-old. They're not going to tell you they're a caregiver.
Right.
18-year, because they're afraid they get pulled from home. They may have adults at home. This thing is so wide and so vast. People are dealing with so much, and we are worried about competing against each other. Wake up, people. Look to your left and look to your right. And when you ask somebody, Ryan, how are you doing today? Stop, listen to what Ryan says, and then listen to what Ryan doesn't say. And if it's a friend, listen to the tones of their voices, listen to their energy, look at their faces, read body language. Because I know my inner circle will know when I'm not doing well, because they know the level of my energy. They know the energy my voice comes with. Immediately they know. Somebody comes to mind, send them a love note. Send them some snail mail. What happened to snail mail?
Yes.
I'm sending snail mail deliberately this year, intentionally. Every week, I'm sending someone a card. That's one of my intentions this year. Everybody I'm sending, and I'm starting with my inner core. And sometimes if you get dropped to mine, I'll drop you one too. So it's so being so conscious. But for Black caregivers, we are in this silo that is so painful. Unfortunately, the running joke is, when last did somebody bring you a casserole? Never.
Right.
I can talk to my friend 2 or 3 people or 4 people that have brought me stuff. And remember, when a family is in crisis, don't assume because they have a brother or a sister, it's the whole family becomes in crisis, because it's a different thing.
Okay.
When you don't know where somebody's mind, their thoughts, their behaviors will change, especially if somebody goes into psychosis. Okay, I rest right there. I know I said a lot in a short space of time. Hopefully people grasp it. If you didn't,
Well, yeah, I'm just going to jump in here. There's a lot of comments coming in, so we're going to get to them right quick. Let me just catch up here. All right, let me see. All right, so Marlon says, yes, please. I miss our conversation. So Marlon wants you and him to get back to your conversations. Ange G, mental is very prominent in our Black community. And I say this a lot of times, people are regulars here. 3 of the challenges at least one of the 3 challenges that many Blacks have, trauma. And if we could address that, we would be so much further ahead. We're not addressing it. A lot of us are keeping it in silos.
So pause there. We keep it in silos because, too, we have a narrative from the past. Yeah. That is, okay, if you could think about Trinidad, they call it the madhouse. CAMH used to be called the lunatic asylum.
Yep.
We have mental illnesses that have the word disorder. I don't even know what the mental health community was thinking when they named some of these things. Bipolar disorder, not bipolar illness. Who wants to be called a disorder?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
All right, let's continue with these comments. We are sometimes not aware that we are mentally ill or that your neighbor is sad. Macmillan Group. So the system is not designed to help people heal and repair, but to keep them on the fringe and not hurt as regular folks. Dwayne, I'll skip your question and just to get to other comments. Coach Stone
Coach
says,
Stone is in the building, y'all.
yes, we can send a message saying, I appreciate you.
Yes, you can.
And yes, Pastor Dwayne, mental health, home personal caregivers may also be dealing with their own mental health challenges. Yes, because even
so pause right there. Go ahead.
Even strong people suffer. I'll just leave it there.
But hold on, not but. However, if you're dealing with someone's illness, your mental health starts to be challenged immediately.
Yep.
Because you're dealing with a stressful situation. So you have to address your own mental health and wellness.
You know what I also want to say too, and a lot of people aren't aware of this. There are people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. I'm going to give you a little reality check. And you may not think I'm speaking truth now, but you'll remember this ballhead saying, many of you who are watching this in those age groups, you're going to have to take care of your parents.
Yes.
Right? I had that happen to me at a younger age. And most of us are not, let alone financially, but mentally and emotionally prepared for that. So this links back into what Nicole is saying. You can be like, I know someone, unfortunately, he is a 16, 17-year-old having to take care of younger brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Parents, done.
It's common. It's more common than we know.
Right? Tim Frey says, I'm a caregiver. Angie, well said, Nicole.
Thank you.
Nicole, I love your passion for mental health. Nicole, keep fighting and being an advocate. Peter, so insightful, great topic and great guest. Well, that's why she's here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for putting it all in perspective. You've given me a lot to think about, a chance to explore my own backstory. Alethea, morning, Nicole. Nicole's a great athlete for creating wellness. Glad to see her on this platform.
And Alethea is a great psychotherapist.
There you go. There needs to be more education in regards to treating the brain, just like any organ in our body in need of treatment.
Pause. So that is powerful. It's such a powerful comment. I would encourage people to follow Dr. Chrissy Doyle Thomas because she's doing some snippets, and I did an interview with her. She's been at a couple conferences I've curated, and she really talks about the brain and how it works. And so she's on Instagram. She's, just follow her, and to just the little thing she tells you how dopamine works and the endorphins work. And we just did a piece on Afro Global Television for Mental Health Week, and she talks about it.
By the way, too, what was it? You remember when we went to the conference?
I was just about to mention her name. So Dr. Carolyn Leaf.
Whoa, boy! Woo!
She is, God is so kind and He's so gracious. I love that woman from Time and Beyond. Many people weren't talking about her. She's a neuroscientist, and she has broken the barriers in people understanding and connecting the brain and mental health. Look up Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And when we had her at the conference, Dr. Vibe was at a conference and talk show when we were curating the Real Talk, the Truth Conference.
Well, that's going back.
That was my first talk show we were working on, and we got Dr. Carolyn Leaf. I don't even know if we can get her now because now she is like world. She is so world famous. But her teachings on the brain, and I'll just say, if you have a negative thought, just think of a tree. See that beautiful flower behind me? And for every negative thought on your brain stem, it starts creating like thorns and thistles, right? This is why the thinking part works. When you have a positive thoughts, it starts falling off. And when you have negative thoughts over and over again, because for whatever reason, it starts manifesting and it creates dark masses in your brain. And when you start unraveling it and changing the mindset, people may dismiss the Bible, but it says renew your mind daily. There's a reason it says that. It's actually a term. It really happens. And when you renew your mind, this is why people, when they can do mindset and mindfulness, it works. But the groundwork came from the word. Renew your mind daily. And as you create a new mind, that's your brain changing. Your brain is neuroplastic. And the brain is one organ that can change. It's so fascinating. I wish I was a neuroscientist. So I love Dr.
Never
Carolyn.
too late. Never
I
too
I
late.
love Dr. Chrissy Dawn Thomas. Listen, I'll just bring them on because listen, their work is just
Yes,
phenomenal.
yes.
I know, Ryan, you have a top of the hour cutoff, so I have a feeling that people want more Nicole. So her and I, with your permission, I may stay on for a little
Oh
bit
Lord
more.
Jesus.
Uh,
Oh, absolutely.
so Ryan, I know you have to go for a meeting.
And just
Any
before I run,
yeah.
Nicole, thank you so much. I'm definitely going to check the podcast and drleaf.com. I was looking for that.
Yes, she's amazing. She has a podcast now too.
All
And
right.
she's an Aussie. She's Australian. That wasn't an Australian accent, but she's Australian.
No, my pleasure. We'll touch base soon. I'll talk to you in a
Cancel that meeting, Ryan. Cancel that meeting.
Take care, Ryan.
All right.
All right, then. Be well. So yeah, and also to people, the report that Nicole was talking about, we've put it on the screen. I think we've
Thank
also
you.
shared it on various platforms that people are watching this, so you can just click on the link. So we're going to bonus time.
Oh boy.
So in 3 minutes, Nicole is actually official, 10 a.m. So
Stop
Nicole,
it.
and anything else you're wanting to share? We have some bonus time. Let me just another comment here. The tags associated with mental illness is the main reason for sufferers to open up and ask for help.
Yep. It hinders people. When we've already been traumatized, especially as a Black community. And so if you've already been traumatized and you go to work and you say that you are depressed or whatever, it already puts that stigma on you, and then you're already on a different lower level that you can't cope, you can't handle the job, that these labels get put on you. And you know what, it's just like, this is why we say mental health is health. If you don't take care of your mental health, your body is out of whack. When you don't take care of your body, your mental health will always be out of whack. The two come together as one. It's one whole body. That's why it's the brain first. And so it's so important that don't worry about the labels. Worry about what's going on in your entire body and address the symptoms that you may be feeling. There's no shame in the game, because if you catch it early, whatever illness you catch early, if you catch cancer early, can't you deal with it? If you catch that you're not doing well with your heart and you catch heart disease early, can you not reverse some things? Can you not change some things? Your lifestyle can change. Do the same thing for your mental health and wellness. There's no shame in the game, people.
Why do I just had a thought in my mind that one day I'm going to hear Dr. Nicole Waldron getting a doctorate from some organization? I speak that.
Hallelujah. Yes,
I speak
I
that.
receive it.
I speak that. I speak that.
I receive it.
I speak that. But it's so important that, and I say it now at the end of all my conversations, that we always want to manage our time, but I think it's more important to manage your energy.
Yeah, that's good. That's really
Managing
good.
your energy is so important. Liquid Green Products saying mental illness is prominent in our community due to the fact we are disconnected from our ancient spirituality. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I'm not sure, so I fully agree with it. Because our mental health and wellness has to do with us as a people, as human beings first. Now, spirit is first. Don't get me wrong. So I get the part with spirit. But the trauma we have gone through as a people, as human beings, the trauma we have gone through as Black people with slavery, being enslaved, being stolen, being, looked at as property, like a great,
beaten physically and mentally and
right?
emotionally.
And being pitted against each other. We are divided within our own people. We have colorism as a big thing, right? That was set up from before, the house slave and the field slave, and the brown back test, who's lighter, and then when you have the mixing of the slave master, making sure that they got, it's a mess. And so it's bigger than our spirituality is what will ground us. Yes, they took more than our spirituality. They took us. They took our souls and they traded it in for something because they were afraid and they saw something good that they took. They did it this is why the Black community, African Canadians, African Americans, African Caribbeans, peoples, we have so much in alignment with the indigenous peoples. This is why we connect so well with each other. We are indigenous, and so much of us has been stolen. And both you and I, Dr. Vibe, had the opportunity to interview two phenomenal people who I would encourage everybody. Today is Friday. Turn on your TV and find it. Black and Origin Story, that was executively produced by Sud Sutherland and Jennifer Holness. Dr. Vibe interviewed them, was it last week or so? I
It
interviewed
was
them
about
this week,
2 Sundays ago.
2 Sundays ago. It started on February 26th on the History Channel, and now it's gone to global on March 4th. They did Nova Scotia first, Quebec second. This week it's Vancouver. Listen, 9 o'clock tonight, do not talk to me. Do not text me. If you text me, you will not get a message, an answer until 10 o'clock. You need to understand your history. And when you understand the history that Black people have come through, the vicarious trauma that we live with, it has passed on generationally. And that's, as I said, a conversation that many people are unpacking this week, which is good.
I like how they're unpacking this week, but it has to go past this week.
Totally. This is just the start of a conversation. And, I'll say to people, don't get caught up and saying, okay, the tokenism is happening and they're just giving it for us for this week. We have an opportunity. If people are just wanting to use you as tokens, if you are the only first in a place, don't get caught up in being first. Get caught up in doing the work and bringing others alongside with you, so that even if people are giving you a hard time, hey, it's okay. We're going to work at it together. Get your pelotons, get your iron sharpeners, get your mentors around you. Like Dr. Vibe, working on this project that is about to come up, out of the 100 ABC women, 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. You're so good at this. I love how you just put a Black in Origin. So you should drop it in the comments so people can pull the link.
It's already been done. Yeah. That was already done.
I love it. And so 100 ABC women, which is 100 accomplished Black Canadian women, have been doing these fireside chats every Saturday for the last 30 Saturdays. We're ending our last one this Saturday. Check out our YouTube channel. But what we are even curating is a conversation of women who are redefining history. And we've pulled some phenomenal women in that. And then the following week, for the elimination of the day of racism, we're bringing together with another group of individuals, people who are doing diversity, inclusion, and equity work. I should say diversity, equity, and inclusion, because when you say the other way, it spells die. So I don't like to spell die. But that work is bringing people who are doing that work together and bringing them so they can see each other, support each other, mentor each other, because we have had a lot of people doing this work. It's traumatic work that they've been doing, and their mental health and wellness is at stake, because since 2 years ago, and us dealing with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and they're being in the limelight because they're not the only ones, organizations have been speaking about us and have been bringing us to the forefront like we were never there before. So the DEI work has been increased, which is not to be confused with anti-Black racism work, which many people do. It's four separate things. And so we're actually putting together a lunch and love for people who are working in the DEI space, people who are in the C-suite. And if you want more information on that, you can email me victoryspeak7@gmail.com, and I will send you an invitation if you're in that space and you just want to be part of the conversation. It is going to be on the 21st of, I have to look at my calendar, on the 21st of this month. Some great people are coming together to speak, and we're bringing the elders first, the elders who have worked in this space first, to speak about it. And one of our moderators is Kike Ojo from Kojo Institute. Oh my God, Kike Ojo Thompson. It's going to be a conversation, y'all. It's going to be good.
She's been going through some fun lately.
Oh.
Is it the city of Sarnia?
Oh, I missed that. Oh my God, I got to go look.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know if that's the city, but she was invited to do a D&I presentation. Now, I hope I have the city right now. I'll check in just a second.
Right.
To their members of their city council and all that, and it didn't go well. It did not go well, to the point where she pulled out of the contract because it was there were some members of the council that were not treating her. She felt threatened by the response and the pushback she got.
You know, this work that that individuals in this space are doing, it's very mind draining work. It's very traumatic work. And their mental health and wellness is, you know, I brought up the 100 ABC women because we had a conversation with some of these women, which really pushed us to do this next piece here. And we need to take care of people's mental health and wellness who are doing any type of anti-Black racism work. People do not want to believe that we have been enslaved people. They don't want to hear. They don't want to be accountable, even our allies, because our allies are even being traumatized that even some of their family members did some of the stuff. And some people are living an entitled life. It's so layered. Um, but we have to find a way to do the work in the spaces that are healthy, that are truthful. And we need to hire, and I say it to, you know, I'm glad we're on LinkedIn. When you're hiring people in the DEI space, don't just leave them in silos and don't just bring in one person to do the work. It's heavy work. You need to bring in several people to do the work. And you need to bring in the experts and not just go to organizations that are not Black. And DEI work is not anti-Black racism work. Bring in the specialists, bring in the people, and do your homework. Don't just go by the first person you hear about. Find out who they are. And if you're going to do the work, prepare your staff, prepare your leadership, prepare your boards, because it's not pretty work, but it is necessary work. And when the work gets done, we will have some flowers. But even a flower, even the best juiciest mango started off as a seed, and that seed started off underground in the darkness. Every beautiful picture has to go into the dark room before it comes to light. We got to do the work.
Some more comments here. Pastor Dwayne saying society still teaches us that mental
Mm.
illness is bad and bad is to be shunned. Shame. Reference military personnel with PTSD.
And he's ex-military. He knows.
And spirituality, and spirituality is not ancient. We are a spirit in a human body.
Amen to that one.
You're 8 minutes into your day. Are we cutting
Oh,
into your time?
no, you're not cutting into my, you know, this is part of my day. And when I do this piece here, this feeds my soul. This is the passion and the drive that keeps me going. You know, I don't work for money, which is probably part of my challenge. I work out of passion and pray that the money will come. And some people kind of like, Nicole, and it's probably why my bank account doesn't look as the way it should be. But
Well,
I'm recognizing that I need to start being paid for my intellectual property the way that I haven't before. But I didn't understand my value. I didn't understand the gift that I was. And now I'm getting it.
and who's teaching you that?
Oh, people like Dr. Vibe, people like Emily Mills, people like Joan Pierre, people like Cher McLaughlin, people like Mario Armstrong, you know, people in my inner circle, Nicole Coco, Lorraine Vieira. I call out these people like Donna Jones Simmons, you know, I call out these people like Sarah Oyango. These are amazing people like Coach Danny Stone. Oh my goodness. You know, we have that Champion You room with Coach Stone and Chander and yourself and Love More every Tuesday. On for those of you who don't know Clubhouse, you got to come to our Champion You room on a 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, because we really want to champion people to be the best that they want to be. It's not about competing, it's about complementing each other. Not even completing alone, but complementing each other. Hope I answered your question, dear Dr. Vab.
You did. How much more time do you have?
I'm good. You just tell me what you need.
No, people are still here, so it's fantastic. The caregiver thing, I think, is, again, it's not being talked about, and I'm going to put something else out here during Black Mental Health Week. And again, I'm not everywhere. I didn't see anything specifically for Black men.
You know what? You could be right. I have to look, because I saw they had stuff on, but it wasn't a lot. And that's another piece that bothered me, because the mental health and wellness of our Black men is so important. And I'm raising a Black son, you know, and we need to start with the boys and the young men and the Black. So
I'm gonna politely interrupt you. We got to start with all of it, because
Yeah.
the thing is, those men have influence on those after them.
Yes, yes, and we need to
So
be. It's such a great conversation. Especially, we need to. I did a show, actually a couple shows with Black men and their mental health and wellness, and I remember Asante Horton, who is doing great work in this space. Like, he's doing work where he and his business partner Rachel, they are the ones who foster the work for Reach Out Toronto, which is the organization that got the city to do the pilot project. Even though the city is tooting their own horns, it's them that brought in a whole bunch of volunteers to sit on so many different focus groups, and they did this work to get them to do these community policing initiatives where we bring in the community responders first before the police. That work is Asante Horton, a Black man. And when Asante started even to speak about his own mental health and wellness, it's a lot. And people look at him he's at Stella's place. He's speaking, he's doing, but they look at this Black man. He's got his dreads. And the first, when he comes into the room, are they going to think he's the guy? And he has to navigate all through that. You walk in a room and they question who you are depending how you're dressed. Our young people walk in a room and get judged because of how they're dressed. And so they always have to deal with this. One of the things, Dr. Vibe, that peeved me the other day in a different way. We talked about the convoy, right? Here's one of my challenges with the convoy. I saw these non-Black individuals.
I just say non-melanated.
Yeah, non-melanated, that's the word. Non-melanated individuals push back on the police. And I thought of all of us melanated people, if any one of us had done that, just a little, where would we be? I am thinking about the trauma of people who have been in marches and fighting for our freedom and fighting for the rights of others, who watched that and probably just sobbed and even got angry, because if it were them, they would be in a different situation right now.
Well, Nicole, interesting on top of that, Peter Slowy resigned.
Listen, that's a whole nother story.
Right? And interesting, some of the members at that level of the Ottawa Police Force were actually attended some of these, were backdoor supporters.
And if
but
you read
could you imagine the pressure that he
was under?
Like, and he's vanished, right? But even just taking on that position, forget about Toronto, even in Ottawa, the pressure that he had, and then how much it was amplified, the pressure that he was on.
From the time he got in the door, they were trying to get him out.
That's right.
And they were very open about it.
Yep.
And so we think of these people in leadership positions, especially men, women too, because we have different types of trauma, different types of experiences we face. And so the chief of police in this position, we need to hold Peter Slowy in our heart. He's not perfect. None of us are. But what he has probably gone through, the things that we have no clue about that went on behind closed doors, we better lift him up. We better lift him up.
Yeah. Just comments here. Pastor Dwayne, Black man is not allowed to be in a mental health coach. Yep. And then the McMillan Group, thanks for addressing that, Dr. Vibe. Many men suffer in silence because very little of the conversation addresses our issues and challenges as men. You know what I say? Men in general, but a lot of Black men are screaming and nothing's coming out.
And we need to pause. And I'll say this as a Black woman, a melanated woman. Stop demonizing your Black men. Stop demonizing your melanated men. Stop mutilating them. Now, I'm not saying people are people and every person can misbehave or not treat people well. I talk to the mothers, the single mothers. Do not use your children as weapons against their fathers. You teach people how to treat you. And if you do that, you're teaching your sons and daughters how to treat each other. It is so cyclical what is happening. Brothers, reach out for each other. have those. And I love that the fact that you are having these conversations with men. And I was fortunate to be in a couple conversations with some of your, your peeps. I feel honored and privileged because I have a men's ministry, because I'm raising a son. So melanated men, Black men are very important to me, that they can, can really heal. There's so much that they're going through, but we need to stop talking ill of them, treat them like the kings that they are. And it's not about a crown, it's about who they are as human beings. Love on them and love your sons. And I said to a young man that came into my son's studio the other day, I said, what do you want your son to see later on when he looks at you? But if our Black men don't have role models, if our Black men are not stepping up because they're busy, you have to mentor. There's so mentorship for boys is so needed. However, if you don't deal with your issues, whatever it is, you will not be able to be a good mentor, because you won't be able to even good for yourself. Heal yourself first. Heal yourself first, because you as a human being, as you know, when you go in an airplane, they say put on your gas mask, your oxygen mask first. That's part of your healing.
It's
That's
it's not being selfish.
Yep. Yep.
I
It's part of
had to get over that, because for a long time I thought I was being selfish, but I realized the better I can take care of myself, the better I can serve others.
Yes. Yes. And then you can really serve them from a place of truth and a place of peace.
Exactly.
But however, Dr. Vibe, it's daily work. It's
Oh
not
yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey.
Work.
It's a life. I don't want anyone to ever come and say, when it comes to mental health, I got it under wraps. Get away from me.
Yeah. And you know what? It's having those honest conversations. It's finding that one person. You don't need a lot of friends, but it's the iron sharpeners. Find the people that you can be honest with and have the bold, courageous conversations with. Sorry, I go on.
I say to men and Black men in general, say you should have 2 or 3 other men that know everything good about you and everything bad about you.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that, when they say the good, the eyes light up. When I say the bad, the heads go down.
Right.
The heads go, or I can hear it on the phone. So let's continue on. Anne says, yes, Black men, I have a father who has never said I love you to me. I know there is some mental issues there. Lots of Black men, along with us women, have mental issues. A lot of us were happy it was a white truckers who ran the convoy. I for one felt the pain of that. We know we would have been treated differently. You said it, Sister Nicole. A lot of women hold their Black fathers, children's father hostage, thinking that they're hurting the man, but they're actually hurting the children. Absolutely. And I do a lot of helping of Black men and fathers and men, and this is universal. How many fathers are hurting that are in that situation? Like, and
put the children first.
The children first.
And women, don't get upset, because I can hear a woman in my head getting upset. Men, do not ill treat or mistreat your children because you have beef with the woman.
No.
Whether you're the father, the godfather, or even as the partner. You know what I have a challenge with? If you have a partner, you're not, this is not a child's father. You've been dating someone, seeing someone for years. You've been in that child's life, but you end with the mother. You've built a relationship with that child. And so you don't just you leave that child. You don't even check in on them. We need to do better.
Yeah.
We need to do better.
If we want better, we got to do better. Right? Pastor Dwayne, another issue is many do not realize that they are in Christ. Absolutely. They either don't realize or they don't want to admit.
Yes.
So I'll just add on to what you're saying.
Pride.
Yeah. And in a book that myself and Nicole read, pride comes before the
fall. A book you, Dwayne, and myself read. Pride comes before
the fall, right? So really and truly, and it's interesting because I help men, I help entrepreneurs, and there's one of the common themes is it's so challenging for so many people to ask for help.
Yes. And that's the pride. And you have the only way we can get through life is with a spirit of humility and being teachable. And let
Yeah.
me tell you, when you are humble people never announce they're humble. I'm just going to say that. You just show up. And you
Uh,
will know how somebody is humble by the way that they show up.
yeah. I think we're going to wind it down here
Yeah,
because
we're good. I know there are people that, I'm just so grateful, Dr. Vibe and Ryan. I'm sorry you had to go for allowing me to be on your platform today. I do not take it for granted. I know that you could have chosen anyone today, and you chose me. And to speak about even my life and share who I am. You've always been a champion for me, Dr. Vibe, and you're such a champion for so many people. And that's what's so special about you. And for even allowing, the conversation about mental health and wellness and for caregivers, because as you know, this is my passion. I am hopefully, as I say it here now, I just need the money to be able to put on some really good
we're
workshops
speaking
and
it.
programming for Black caregivers that are Black, that are melanated, to educate, to support, because there's so many out there. And it's not sometimes till somebody introduces you says, "Oh, I didn't know there's so many of us that are moving, whether our loved one is well or recovered, whatever the situation. But so many people don't know each other, but we're walking around like we're good. Reach out and find ways. We need a peer support system, but we really don't have many. Not well. We have one peer support, not really. For Black caregivers, not really. We just stumble upon things once in a while. We never get sustainable funding to keep something going.
Well, what I'm going to actually, there is an organization in the GTA that is a Black Parents Autism Support Group.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did interview them. I did interview them a while back. What we're going to do is a few things. First of all, for those who are watching, there's Nicole's contact information, website, Facebook, YouTube,
Oh,
Instagram,
wow, wow,
email.
wow, wow.
We got it all there. So Nicole mentioned usually we're also on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on Clubhouse, and most of the time when we close up, I like to close with a reading. Well, I'm going to close with a reading today that I think is applicable to our conversation today.
Mm.
So it's called "The Little Things Matter." We should get our own house in order first before we try to tackle other people's problems. We should deal with what's in front of us, with how we can help those in our neighborhood and our town before we try to change the world. Because if tragedy ever befalls your family, cancer, unemployment, a debilitating accident, or an untimely death, the world will not be there to take your kids to school so you can make the doctor's appointment. The world is not who will leave the casseroles on your doorstep or start a GoFundMe page.
Mm.
It will be your neighbors, your town, and you should do the same. Doing those small things won't change the whole world, but they will change somebody's world. And that's all that matters.
I love that. I love that. You got to send me that one, Dr. Vibe.
Okay, I will send that to you. So thank you, everyone who came in live or on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. If you want to watch replays of this thing we call the Morning Vibe, it's right scrolling along the bottom there. You can watch us on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Canadian Business Network on Facebook, and Ryan Knight on YouTube. I want to thank everybody today, and I'm just going to, I think there's one more. And Marlon says he loves that thing I read too. So no problem. And Nicole is saying, thank you everyone for joining the call. And not only your support today, but continuous support, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Marlon saying, thank you so much for saying, thank you, Marlon, for all you do. And I'm speaking that you're going to get in contact with Nicole. And if you don't know how to get in contact, you didn't get
I'm sure there's a message for me. I'm sure there's a DM somewhere. I know I'm going to find it.
So that is what we're doing. We will be back on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Don't know who's going to be on, but doesn't matter. Even
It won't be
myself
me.
and I know it won't be.
It
Got
could
you.
be, but it won't be.
We got it. It will not be Nicole, but Nicole will be doing something to serve. And please support her any way you can. What Nicole does is not hard work, it's hard work.
Thank you.
And there's a group of us Pelotons, we do hard work. We don't do hard work.
Yes. Yes.
We do hard work. So as always, I close off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And remember, yes, it's important to manage your time, but it's even more important these days to manage your energy. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good.